Everybody. Welcome to our January 14, 2019 regularly scheduled work session. Tonight we have two items on the agenda. Public comment is allowed that is germane to an agenda item. If you wish to speak, you're required to fill out a public comment card, and if you are speaking on behalf of an organization, you must fill out an affidavit that you have the authority of such organization. Please remember this is not a time to engage the mayor or members of city council in conversation. When your name is called, please come forward and speak into the microphone stating your name and address for the record. Public comment will be allowed for a total of 10 minutes per agenda item and no more than 2 minutes per person. Public comment will be heard at the beginning of each item. Once the item is called, no other public cards will be accepted. And I would also like to add an executive session to discuss land acquisition. We need to get a motion for that, don't we, Ken?
Mr. Mayor, we do.
Have a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we have an executive session to discuss land acquisition after the work session agenda items.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to add an executive session to discuss land acquisition. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous with those that are sitting here. All right. What?
Before we start.
Oh, okay. Tonight, we've actually got swearing in of the mayor pro tem, which we did not do the other night. So I think Councilmember Jameson is somewhere here.
Wait for Zombardi. How are you doing? Yeah.
Our water meter's out.
Busted water pipe at home. Gonna make this quick.
How you doing? Did anybody Martin here?
We did.
Okay.
You're good.
All right, if you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Peyton Jameson,
I, Peyton Jameson,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully perform the duties of
that I will faithfully perform the duties of
Mayor Pro Tem
Mayor
of the
Pro
city,
Tem of the city,
and that I will support and defend the charter thereof,
and I will support and defend the charter thereof,
as well as the Constitution
as well as the Constitution
and the laws of the state of Georgia
and the laws of the state of Georgia
and of the United States of America.
and of the United States of America.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Joe.
You want to do, Peyton, come here for a second. Get the camera ready. Please raise your right hand. Look at me. Raise your right hand. Okay.
Smile.
All right. Thank you. All right, Sudie, if you'll please sound the first item.
Our first item this evening is discussion of the 6-month assessment and status report by staff, the applicant, and stakeholders related to the experience associated with the operation of Matilda's Outdoor Music Venue at 850 and 875 Hickory Flat Road, pursuant to Condition 5C of that use permit issued by the City of Milton on June 19th, 2018. Mr. Steve Krokoff.
Mr. Mayor, are we going to have, and should we have public comment?
Yeah,
first?
I'm going to. Do we have any public comment on that?
We have 3, sir.
Okay, we'll hear that public comment, please.
And the first one is from Mr. Tim Becker.
Tim Becker, 15625 Canterbury Chase, Milton, Georgia. Good evening, Council. I am speaking tonight again in opposition to this use permit. I attended the CZIM, the Planning Commission meeting, and the last council meeting on this matter. At the original council meeting, a number of compelling arguments were made for denying the use permit and non-concurrent variances. However, tonight I will focus on additional arguments for denying the use permit. First, the whole premise for the use permit was that Matilda's was going to be homeless. Furthermore, there was an urgency about finding Matilda's a home. The show had to go on. The applicant asserted that concerts would be hosted in early July. The proprietors got their fan base to show up with Save Matilda stickers. Few fans were from Milton. As you might recall, 40 nearby residents spoke in opposition, and despite the Matilda's media blitz on Facebook and elsewhere, only 3 nearby residents spoke in support. So let me present a few facts. First, within a few weeks of approval in Milton, the proprietors of Matilda's were applying for a permit in Alpharetta. That permit was granted. Matilda's has a home, so the original premise for the permit is no longer valid. Matilda's has a home in Alpharetta. It's close to their fan base. Milton is not needed, so there is no need for a weekly BYOB event that will disgorge attendees onto our narrow, winding, unlit roads with which many fans are unfamiliar. The second fact is the applicant was unsuccessful in getting Matilda's up and running. The first concert was supposed to be hosted in early July, but with 3.5 months that have passed and not a single concert has been held. Given all the urgency and the community uproar, you would have thought the applicant would have had their act together. My understanding is that the building has not been brought up to code, and it is clear that this business seems to be undercapitalized. They forever seem to be seeking donations. I know you're probably going to hear a lot of excuses tonight, but I think they are just that, excuses. Lastly, I want to highlight some misrepresentations that have been made. At the CZIM, I heard there would be 20 concerts, no more than 200 attendees, a 6-month season, and the noise variance would likely not be needed. And initially, based on what I heard, I thought this might be a good idea. I actually supported it. However, the proposal morphed with the applicant essentially asserting few, if any, limits should be placed on the operation, no attendance cap, for example. And then at the Planning Commission, he was given even more than he was asked for. However, I want to highlight one whopper of a misrepresentation. At the last hearing, I asserted that there would be clear cutting. I knew this because I saw the huge septic field that was on the drawing, so I knew a lot of trees would be coming down. The applicant followed my remarks by saying 0 trees, and he used the word 0, were coming down. I'm sure he and his apologist will parse his previous words and state that he was only referring to the performance area. However, I can tell you that an acre of trees right next to Birmingham Park have come down, and there's clear cutting. And there is a big difference between 0 trees and hundreds of trees. And that's all I've got to say tonight. Thank you for considering my perspectives.
Okay, thank you. Sudi, if you'd please call the next speaker.
Next speaker is Judy Bird.
Hi, Judy Birds. I live at 1165 Bream Drive in Milton. It's less than a half a mile from the venue. It's been over 6 months since the City of Milton approved 9 variances and a festival event permit for Mr. Mills, who I note is not in attendance tonight, and the Potters. In that time, there were also 2 advertised concerts outside the approved permit, one for a Thursday night and one for November. The discussion at the council meeting in June was that the 2 special events should be used to increase attendance capacity on a Friday or Saturday night between May and October. I request council to instruct staff to deny requests outside the May to October and outside a Friday or Saturday night. The Potters have also advertised on social media for a licensed electrician who would work for free tickets and for funds to bring the building up to code. At council, there was also discussion that the permits and variances should be revoked if no concerts were held in a 6-month period. If the funds cannot be raised by mid-July, the permit and variances should be revoked. The highest immediate priority in my mind is the screening of the building from the road and removal of the unsightly pile of trees. It is an eyesore. It is adversely impacting the property values in this surrounding area as prospective buyers drive by and see this horrible view shed. This needs to be remedied post haste.
Thank you. Judy, if you'd please call the next speaker.
Our final speaker is Kevin Crow.
Good evening, Councilor. Kevin Crow, 1153 Bream Drive, also approximately 1/2 mile from the subject site. I came up here last time with prepared statements and didn't think that went very well, so I'm just going to speak to you from my heart again. You know, last time I was here, I saw all these great stickers, Save Matildas, and it was a very compelling argument. It kind of tugged at your heartstring. They were going out of business, needed a home, and for a while I thought, well, that's very compelling to listen to people from Alpharetta, Roswell, Canton, Sandy Springs, and Atlanta tell us what we're missing here. And all the assurances that were given to the council that night, and all of the assumptions that were made, and you were asking very good questions, and all the responses were, we were going to have it under control, this is what it's going to look like, and we were told as the surrounding neighbors, don't worry about it. Well, as some have already said, if the start of this venture is any indication of what's going to happen going forward, it concerns me even more. I'm not asking you just outright deny Matilda's their permits, because I don't think that's ever going to be the case of this venture, or this moment, I should say. What I am asking is you rethink the assumptions that you took away from that very first meeting, based upon certain, I won't call them facts, but certain statements that were provided by the applicants and the operators that have just turned out to be factually inaccurate. And it hurts me to say, but it's just that's the honest truth. So I'm asking that, one, you have a reconsideration of all of the assertions and statements provided at that initial meeting and think, was it the right decision? And going forward, should we provide a special use permit in this location and keep it in a very short leash that needs to be, because, as was stated before, Matilda's went back to City of Alpharetta a couple weeks after they left this building. City of Alpharetta, who knows them fairly well, put a lot more constraints on Matilda's than the City of Milton did. I don't know if that's because they knew them, had prior experience, but they sure thought that it was a good thing to keep them. That's fine. But they sure did make sure they had the security and other measures in place that this council decided maybe wasn't such a good idea at the time. So all I ask is you reconsider all of those facts and rethink the positions from last time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is that all of our public comments, Judy?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll turn it back over to Ken. Thank you. Or Steve.
Well, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
And excuse me, I just want to make sure, I recused myself back in June under first presentation. So based on the applicant's involvement in my campaign and other reasons as well, per the Milton Ethics Code. So I am still recused.
Excellent. I appreciate the announcement, and we did discuss that then, and that was my, I concur with your conclusion on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Benton.
Mr. Mayor, I may turn this over to the city manager to give some of the presentation on this.
So under condition 5C, it stated the use permit shall return to the council at the next work session 6 months from today's date, which was June 19th, 2018, for assessment and status by staff, the applicant and stakeholders to discuss the result of the experience of the use permit with council. I've spoken with Ken about this, and I've spoken with our planning people. We have nothing to report on, as there's been no experience. There have been no concerts. There's really nothing for us to assess. The reason I bring this back before you tonight is because Condition 5C dictated it would be back at the first work session 6 months following, and this is the first work session.
Okay. And, when we did hear this application, there was a number of concerns from citizens, and from traffic to security to cleanup, trash to noise and whatnot. So I believe the intent was, after 6 months of operation, to be able to address that, and if there were complaints or problems, then we could address that with the applicant. So at this point, we don't have the 6 months behind us of opening our operation. So, I'll open up to council any discussions. My best thoughts are to, move this forward 6 months after the applicant opens up and revisit it to address any concerns. Is any comments from council or thoughts differently than that?
I wouldn't mind asking him, some of the questions for the delays, or maybe staff has some answers on the delays.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think our citizens at least have that. So, Steve, perhaps you can tell us from staff's perspective why they hadn't gotten started yet.
I don't know that I have that answer.
We don't have that? Okay. So if the applicant's here? Hi.
Well, the building that...
Ms. Potter, if you don't mind, just for the record,
Yeah.
state your name and address. So.
And I'm Mark.
Yep. And address too, just for the record. So.
Hickory Flat Road is the address
Okay.
of the new location of Matilda's. We did have a lot of delays, and they were basically the fact that the developer, that our ability to move the little house was tied to the developer's LDP. And his LDP was not issued for 3.5 months, past the time that we had intended to move the building.
Are you talking about in Milton or in Alpharetta?
In
In
Alpharetta.
Alpharetta, okay.
So we were ready to move the building in early July. And we had actually started the process and got shut down because the developer didn't have his LDP. And we just went through day by day, month by month, waiting for him to get it. And we moved the building as soon as we possibly could. But by that time, most of the season was over. And we tried to salvage a couple of concerts, but it was either weather or, it was not going to happen before October, the end of October. So now, it's been weather and rain, and there's lots of different reasons that it's, in the state that it's in. But we fully intend to have it operational by May, which is our first season concert.
You have a question?
So, Ken, I guess the Potters, y'all are okay with it when May 1st, when your first concert's May 1st, we're going to have this work session 6 months from now. Is that correct?
That's interesting. So we're here because of a zoning condition. And so we're trying to comply with the zoning condition. What you can't do this evening is you can't modify the zoning condition. So we could just consider the zoning condition to have been reasonably fulfilled. There's nothing to report. Unfortunately, I think everybody, when we adopted the condition, thought that by now there would be something substantive. But what we could do is simply the council can simply give staff direction to say, whether the condition's been satisfied or not, 6 months after this entity begins operating, we want this matter back in front of the council. And it's not a zoning condition, it's a direction from the council to staff. And you can certainly do that this evening.
Okay.
And that's what I suggest, because I think the intent was, we heard a lot of concerns about operation and all that, and that way we'll have a chance to address them and get together and hopefully, make changes if there is any problem. So
I'm going off of memory. It is just Friday or Saturday night, right? Was it just Friday or Saturday? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. That's
it's not during the week. No.
Yeah.
Anybody else while the applicant's here? Anybody have a question for the applicant? Matt?
The only other question I have is one of our residents, Mr. Judy Barrett, had mentioned a concert trying to start on a Thursday night that went on social media, and I saw that as well. And just, curious why that was put out there. Does that make sense?
It was my understanding that we could have a special event, 2 special events per year. And I don't think that those special events are tied to the Friday night, Saturday night stipulation.
Okay, I have to request staff, is that you?
Yeah, I remember some discussion, they had like maybe 2 sticks out, that 2 times a year, but you guys could confirm that for us, can't you?
Allow me to make sure I'm correct in my answer before I answer.
Correct, that's
But
what I said.
It sounds correct, but I'll consult the ordinance and get back to you. Unless, Carter, do you know? You look pretty,
Well,
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you look like you knew something.
no, there is a provision for no more than 2 special use permits for a piece of property, so it would be totally outside of the zoning of the property. It would be just tied to the special use permits itself.
No, I think with this one it was like they could have special events that could have upwards of like an extra 50 people. So I think it was within their use permit. They had a provision, but I don't know if it was on a Friday or Saturday or if it was on I don't know.
Let me get that answer
If you guys
for
could just, staff, get that back to us.
And one thing I could suggest on that as well is, there's a process, and obviously our residents have an expectation of knowing to prepare for anything that happens like that. And so I would hope that there's enough leeway to ask for that special use permit. It's enough time to get our residents ready for it from that perspective. So I think that we owe that to our residents on that end. But that's something I would just make sure we know the facts before we give staff direction on that.
It would be very rare for us to have even want to have a Thursday night concert. It just happened to be somebody who was a pretty big name, and we had the opportunity to do it. So we were going to try to do it, and we ended up doing it in Alpharetta. So.
Okay. Anybody else? Rick?
Just one question. There was some assertion about going through an application process after we approved the use permit in Alpharetta. Was that for the same venue, the same location, or did you have a different location?
During the time that we were unable to do concerts here, we went ahead and had scheduled some concerts, so we needed a temporary venue, and that happened to be the porch. I don't know if you know where that is. It's just up the street from Matilda's, the old location.
Oh, the porch, the house. Okay.
And so, as it was kind of an afterthought, but we didn't actually know that we were going to have an opportunity to make that a venue also. And even if we do, the owners of that property wanted to make it like a wedding venue. So it'll be a multi-purpose event venue, but we will do some concerts there and have been approved to do it.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you for being here. And again, I just to confirm for our citizens, that was the whole purpose of the 6-month review, was after operation to address any concerns or issues that our citizens would have. So I think if the council's good with that, put in a 6-month after opening, we'll revisit this in a work session. Is that correct, Ken, the way process was?
That's what I would recommend, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. You guys are okay with that? Okay. All right.
Kurt said to tell you all that he was sorry that he couldn't make it tonight, but he got called out of town on business that he couldn't pass up.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rick?
And Steve, could you send us what we approved from a use permit? Could I get a copy of that? And I don't know if anybody else on council wants to see, just so we're aware of everything the stipulations, just to refresh our memory before the season starts again.
Consider it done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys. All right, City, if you'll please sound agenda item number 2.
This item is discussion regarding the purchase of 2 fire department apparatus.
Do you have
And
any public comment on that?
we do not, sir. Chief Bob Edgar.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Evening, Mayor, Council. This evening, I'd like to share with you an opportunity we have by saving some money with the purchase of 2 new fire trucks. I'm just going to go through a brief PowerPoint here, and Bernadette's going to assist me with some of the financials on this as well. Back in 2017, we purchased all our apparatus at one time with the start of the city and the department. We purchased 3 fire engines or apparatus and 1 ladder truck. And this is how we've got our equipment deployed at this point. Station 42, 43, and 41. Truck 1 is in Alpharetta Station 81, and we have our proposed station on this particular map. We've used this for a couple times for other items. With the large area that we have and we serve, these trucks end up with a lot of mileage on them. They're running around town. We're doing hydrant maintenance and pub ad events, and not only running calls, but they also, not only do they have mileage on them, they have hours on them, because when these trucks are sitting at a fire or an emergency and they're idling or pumping at high volumes of RPMs and all pumping water and all of that. So it's not only just road miles, but it is also wear and tear on the engine and the pumps. We have a capital plan in place, and our plan was to replace the ladder truck starting in 2015. And our engines, we had a plan that we were going to replace them year after year from 16, 17, and 18. The build time for a new fire truck is about 12 months. The plan was delayed, and if you recall, we came to you all for the approval of purchase of a ladder truck built by the Suffolk Corporation. We had to step away from that agreement because of some of the problems they were having with their particular truck, and we thought it was a better move to go ahead and step away and reevaluate. So that's what we did. So we went out to rebid that ladder truck, and we ended up with our new truck that we have today that we purchased in 2016, the E1. And then also we were delayed by some of the Fulton County tax stuff with the realignment of the budget, and also some of that funding we had to wait until we could purchase the new trucks, and we weren't able to stagger them at that point. We have a truck today that is with Pierce. It's in its final inspection. I have a team up there today and tomorrow. They are inspecting the vehicle, and they're doing the final inspection. That truck will be delivered at the end of this month. What we have is a spec that we developed through the department, through representatives of the department, that we can use on each truck moving forward. All the trucks then would look the same. Our current mileage on our current vehicles is engine 41, 42, and 43. You can see there, and as I mentioned, it's not only just the road miles, but it's also the wear and tear on the particular vehicles as they are sitting and idling and pumping. Our replacement price, when we first purchased these vehicles in 2007, they were almost $400,000. The truck that we have today that's ready for delivery is $571,000. We're proposing to put in a bid for 2 more trucks in 2019. That price is now $606,000. It's over a $17,000 increase over the one we just spec'd out last year or earlier this year. And we also have an opportunity to trade in one of our older vehicles. We have a 2010 Contender, and we've already been offered $100,000 for that vehicle on a trade-in, or we can sell it to a private vendor who would then sell it off to another fire department. Purchasing one the next one next year, we would absorb a $17,000 increase for 2019 and 20, and it's probably a similar increase or a little bit more moving forward in 2020 or 21 if we staggered these trucks. If we purchase them both today, or I'm saying today, but if we purchase them both now, before the price increase goes into place, we would save $91,000. Here's a breakdown of how the pricing works. If we bought just the one truck, it's $606,000, and we'd end up with about a $17,000 savings. if we purchased that truck. If we bought the 2 trucks, we would end up with a $35,000 savings. We would save money on the GOP fee, which is basically it's a group purchasing fee that we are able to take advantage of, and travel costs. The travel cost for sending the team up there to inspect the vehicles is built into the price of the truck. So we would be saving $9,000 by doing that, and we would only have to make 1 trip up there opposed to 2 trips for the 2 different builds on the trucks. And then you give you an additional discount of $11,000 if you purchase 2 vehicles. And we would save $500 on the pictures. And what that picture's, it's an internet-based picture that they're putting up. They take pictures on every stage of the build through Pierce. And what they do is they put them online for us to look at them. So we don't have to be there through every piece of the build, but we have an opportunity to look at those pictures. And it's already proven to be effective because we've already identified in the truck we have up there now. We found that there were a couple of mistakes that they had made, and they corrected them just by looking at the pictures of the vehicles. So the total price would be $1,154,000. We'd have a savings of $57,810,000 if we purchased the 2. If we just purchased the 1, it would be $17,655. If we prepay these up front, we'll have an additional savings of $34,000 with the 2 trucks. And the total price of the trucks will be $1,120,500. And that's a total savings of almost $92,000. So I will allow Bernadette to talk about where some of this money would come from to help cover the cost.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you, you'll see the approved 7-year capital improvement plan that you all put into place last year. This shows the proposed budget from FY19, which is now the actual approved budget. You can see where the apparatus line was increased from the normal $500,000 to $515,000 request to $772,500. That was to recoup some of the delayed money from the funding from the change in fiscal year accounting for the property taxes. You'll also see here the SCBA replacement, where they were doing a PAYGO program of funding that thing over 2 years, so they'd have all of the money ready to replace when they do the full replacements in fiscal year 2021. That is one of the items we'll be looking at to ask a request of moving that money. Right here, you'll see the financial outline. The current vehicle replacement budget that they have available after receiving the vehicle they purchased this year and equipping it is $770,458. The prepay that Chief Edgar outlined is $1,120,500, leaving them in need for $350,042. The funding plan we discussed to propose to you this evening for your approval is to take the money received from the auction or trade. So what would happen is if the ordinance says that we have to auction it, we'll put it out to auction. If the trade amount comes in higher than any of the auction amounts, we can then trade it out. Otherwise, it would go to the highest auction bid. So that would be at least $100,000. Then we would look to transfer that SCBA PAYGO budget that was starting to build up to the fire apparatus line for this year. And then the difference would come out of the capital contingency that we set aside this year. That would give them the $350,042 they would need to prepay the items and recognize the $91,000, almost $92,000 savings. Then in 2020, in order to rectify and make everything whole again, we would ask for the full 100% for the SCBAs of $372,330. We would receive the second trade or auction of the second vehicle for we're hoping at least another $100,000 for that vehicle as well. And then we would reduce the fire apparatus budget by all the money that they requested to be transferred in this fiscal year. So that would be the $250,042 taken from the SCBAs and contingency.
Okay. Any questions for Bernadette or the chief on this? Rick?
I'm assuming then we have that money already available, what you're looking at as far as borrowing or taking from one area. We do have the funds available right now.
That's correct. Everything that we're proposing is budgeted for, meaning we have the funds. It would just be shuffling the deck for the moment and then replacing it in the next year. So we have that PAYGO program that allows us to kind of set things aside year by year. We're just borrowing a year ahead and asking for the full funding in that fund a year later. Additionally, anything with a prepay, we would look at, through the legal team as well before we make any purchases.
And is it traditional that we pay for, even when like the build of what we're going to receive at the end of this month, do we pay 100% up front, or is?
No, that's why I was addressing that. We have not paid 100% upfront before, so that's why we would be looking to have a contract in place that would make sure that the city is not at any point in danger of losing that money.
So if we have an issue like we had before where we need to back out of the contract or whatever, we're protected to get our money back, if that would
Look
happen.
into that before we pay any money.
Okay.
Well, just to
Thanks.
clarify, this is 2 units that we would, had already planned to buy. And but buying them together now, we're taking advantage of the discount.
Correct. Our capital plan shows that we would be purchasing next year and the year after. Here, we're taking advantage of the savings by purchasing them both up front with a prepay.
The reason this is before you is because it's going to require a significant budget amendment, and there is no downside to it.
And we'll trade in the 1 truck or sell it. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
The one reserve truck that we have today will be traded in for, and we'll realize
You'll
that
take one
100,000.
that this is being replaced, and that will be a reserve truck.
Once our new one comes in, we'll trade in the reserve, realize that $100,000 savings right away, and then when the next 2 trucks come in, this new truck will put one of our older trucks in reserve, and then when the other 2 come in, we'll be able to sell off the other one.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Everybody okay with this plan? And then,
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. I think we added an executive session to discuss land acquisition. Do I have a motion to move into executive session?
Motion to move into executive session.
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second to move into executive session to discuss land acquisition. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous.